All right, now as women, we step bravely into the world every day with an eye to influence, be it our families, our colleagues, ourselves, and we're driving towards this higher level of confidence and achievement all the time. It's not that we don't want to influence, it's that sometimes stuff gets in the way. Sometimes it's us, our own self confidence, and that deficit stings and shackles up before we even step up to the plate. Other times it's competing with those louder voices in the room who cut us off mid thought or recast our words in other ways. But for women to excel as individuals and as a collective, we must master the skill of influence. The good news is, influencing, as you've heard, and communication, it's a skill and it can be learned and practiced. And you'll see evidence of that on today's panel. And it's not a one size fits all. It starts, of course, from the inside, from wanting something, from believing in something, from standing up for something, and then creating the room and the seeding that idea to allow it to flourish. A great influence is, of course, nuanced. So, how do we navigate this tightrope? How do we stay true to ourselves while maximizing our influence? You're now going to see a trio of great women come onto the screen to round that out. Welcome, influencers. Now, I'm going to introduce Tina here because I remember hearing Tina before I even saw her. She was laughing and making a ruckus outside of a meeting room that I was in. And when she entered, she shifted the air in the room. Like she shifted the vibration and spoke with one as well. Now, I watched her speak. Yes, I watched versus listened because she was so impassioned about what she was selling that I decided I'd buy. Like she sparkled. This is a woman who knows things that I don't. This is a woman who's experienced things that I have not had too. And these are executives in the same bank. And I admire her deeply to this day for both what she does, who she is, and also where she's come from. And at the end of the hour, I'm confident that you will as well. So Tina is, among so many other things, the regional president of the Wisconsin area at BMO. She's a mom of 2 sons. She's a committed partner and daughter and survivor and a fireball. She's a huge, huge advocate for those who have less and who deserve more. And she uses her powerful voice every day to make change and finds routinely ways to be surrounded by people who just simply love her. This is a woman with a million stories within her and who's willing to share it, with wounds woven into the tapestry of who she is. And I cannot wait for you to get to know her better because we could all use a little more sparkle in our lives. So Tina, tell us, where did your passion and this fire in your belly come from?
Wow. So first, can I just say thank you? Thank you for what has to be the kindest introduction and words about myself. And it was always hard for us to hear it, but thank you. And I receive it. And I have to say to everyone, I've been around ElleExcel for a long time. And I'm kind of fangirling right now. It's like a little dream. It's like getting to the Taylor Swift concert or meeting, right? Like this is just such an honor to be here. So thank you. Okay, so for the fire that you mentioned, it definitely does come from my childhood experiences and wanting so much more, better, different than some of those experiences. I know we all have a story. Mine definitely included some traumatic situations. I'll try to lean into a little bit later. I chose when I was younger that those experiences and everything I was going through, they just I didn't want them to define me. And I was young, but I knew like I didn't want that. I wasn't going to be that. That was not for me. And so I kind of committed to myself pretty young that I wanted that different, better life. And that was going to take a lot of hard work and choices. So again, here many, many years later, the culmination of a lot of those small choices and some very big, tough choices, along with some big determination. I'm a believer in positive mindset, relentless fight. I don't like to give up. A lot of hope, a lot of hard work and action. And then, as you sort of mentioned, just a lot of love and support. I learned and I've lived that ability to kind of achieve one's vision board. I'm a manifester, and that you can achieve those goals. I believe we're not our experiences. We're not what happens to us. but rather what we do with them and who we become in spite and because of them.
Wow, there's a lot in there. And thank you for the wise advice. I think you can probably feel the sparkle on the line. Now, I was in a meeting once and Nicole came in, Nicole Chen, and she took a seat at the head of the table. And this was a room of senior leaders, and all but two of them were men. She she and I actually, and I didn't know her really at that time really well enough, though I knew her by reputation, as others had spoken about her and advocated for her in rooms that she wasn't in. And so she began to present. She was confident, she was clear and focused, and she was there to deliver a message. No doubt, no doubt about it. She was presenting data, and data, as always, was more kind of gray than black and white. And I remember being kind of taken aback by her confidence and how she navigated the questions, and she kind of got people back on track, but with ease as she managed this conversation. So she really behaved like she belonged there. So it wasn't arrogance, it was assurance coupled with competence. It was a deadly combination. And I remember she told me with great diplomacy that how I was interpreting the data was incorrect. And not only was she right, but I actually really liked the way she told me that I wasn't. And while Nicole was in my team, she behaved like we were peers. She traded on this currency of value. And there is a very quiet strength and sense of conviction about her. It's very steadfast. She hails from China, and while her cultural expectations had different things in mind for her, she chose really her own path, and she ran counterculture and still does. And so Nicole was recently promoted to a director of North American Digital Sales and Analytics at BMO, and she's a woman in STEM with a twist. And I can't wait for you to discover what all that's about and meet this quiet storm of a woman. And so, Nicole, there's cultural biases that are at play when a Chinese woman steps into a senior leadership position in STEM. Many preconceived notions about hierarchical norms, cultural ones. What are the biases you dealt with, and how do they impact how you influence?
So first of all, thank you so much, Lori, for inviting me to this circle. I've been a fan for ElleExcel for in the past couple of years, and I'm so honored to be here. So thank you so much. To answer the question, yes, I'm actually growing up in a traditional Chinese family where I actually witnessed the cultural bias that favor boys over girls. So I am in a family where I have a younger sister. So that's where my parents often face comments from their neighbors and elder families like, oh, it's actually too bad you two girls. Maybe try a third one because they believe that only boys can carry on the family and the business. And I could also see that boys in my family are like more spoiled, they have more privilege, but that actually motivates me to excel academically from a young age. So I want to prove that girls can just achieve as much as boys. So that's how, and I also thank you so much for my parents who actually gave me unconditionally love and support. So including like studying from STEM, so my undergrad psychology, and also supporting my decision to study abroad. So now, in fact, I'm actually the only one and the first one who attended university in my extended family.
Wow.
So yeah, so dealing with this bias actually taught me like how the best way to change perspective is through action. Like instead of like facing those judgment, we get emotional. I kind of say, hey, focus on what I can control, focus on my efforts, focus on my achievement. So that's where I am today.
Courageous. Thank you for sharing. And now, when you meet Michelle Feeney, you feel warmth. It's in her words, the spoken and unspoken ones, in her voice, in the way that she looks at you when she speaks, as though she's hearing every word very fully. There's an instant bond that she forges between those around her, and she uses this as the currency to trade, to influence, to make great change. And she does it in a way that's just wholly authentic. And Michelle's our chief marketing officer for the North American Personal and Business Bank at BMO. She blew into the leadership table like a warm breeze, I will tell you, taking a seat while making room for others. And to work with her is to know this power of contrast because she's powerful, yet often quiet. She's unassuming, yet she can command a room. She's humble and people oriented, yet capable of making really tough calls. She's an influencer who leaves you feeling like you've not been influenced at all, but really maybe aligned or adjusted somehow to a new way of thinking. And so we work together all the time. And I've been on the receiving end of her good influence and counsel, and you leave feeling better. Always. She has much to teach us, and I feel lucky to lead alongside of you and learn from you, Michelle. Thank you for being part of with us today.
Lori, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor.
Thank you. Well, you're in a role that can only be described as the head of the United Nations, where of your own admission, you're in this constant business of brokering peace agreements between products and channels. Many hungry folks, less food than we'd all like around the collective table. And so to get through it and to kind of end the meal where everyone feels satiated, with this masterful influence, I would say it's uphill climbs, right? Every day, robbing from Patty to pay Pam. So did you choose this frictious line of work, or did it choose you?
I love that question. I do feel compelled to clarify that I absolutely love my job. And what Lori is getting at is a large part of my role is to make investment trade-off recommendations. And so this is the negotiating peace treaties that she refers to. I definitely think that one of the things, or one of the strengths that I have brought to the role that has allowed me to thrive is what I would describe as some of the softer skills. I think I have an ability to sense tension or resistance or blockers, and to be able to get in front of these challenges before they become untenable. I also like to do a lot of pre-alignment. I don't like anyone seeing something for the first time that directly affects their business before in a large group environment. And I would say, lastly, I do try to be intentional around seeing things from other people's perspectives. So I don't know if I chose the work or it chose me, but I do love it, and I do think that there's some different approaches that I've brought to the table that have certainly helped.
Well, thank God you love it, because you're good at it, and we don't want you have you going anywhere. And so, over this, Tina, we all take circuitous routes to the places we land in, for sure. Our paths are not always paved with gold, despite having risen through the ranks to these great levels of achievement, which you certainly have. I know you have a deep story to tell about your roots and how you came to being in the position that you are, but to understand you fully and how you show up every day is to know where you come from. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, thank you. Definitely growing up, there was a series of events and experiences that helped kind of influence and transform me into who I am today. And kind of to give a little array, my parents divorcing before I was one, my mom remarrying, my dad I saw, once a week, God bless for that. But observing physical and verbal abuse in the second marriage, infidelity, and then a second divorce. And subsequently, unfortunately, again, as a woman, as a single mom, she did fall into drug addiction when I was about 8 years old. I had a brother who was 4 at the time. We lost our home. I think I was maybe 10. We were separated, right, by family. Got lovingly that we had family that took us in, but those were in different states, many states away. Lots of childhood insecurities that come with that: food, identity, value, just not having what we would call a normal family or life, not nice things, judgments, a lot of judgments. But one thing, again, that I knew and I'm grateful for was that there was love and support around to try to protect us and to try to help us move forward. And I'm also very blessed that I had an inspiring role model for resilience and fight. And you might not guess that I'm going to say it, but I am. It's my mom. I feel blessed to have witnessed her firsthand with the ultimate comeback. My mom, driven really by the love of her 2 children, fought really hard and obviously became sober. And we started rebuilding our life from scratch, at 12 years old, for me. And that took a lot of hard work ethic, which I got to see. And again, there was a lot of joy and gratitude, which is played forward in my life. Everything can be gone in a minute, but that attitude of gratitude is like really important to me on a daily basis, because things can always be worse. And but when we have the power, like Nicole said, to take action and make it better. So I've been through a lot, but I'm grateful to say that when we needed it most, both my parents, who again at that were divorced many years at that point, came together to fight and try to rebuild things so that we can move forward as better individuals and have a better life. And for me, it just showed that there's always choice, no matter how bad it is, and or where you're at in mediocrity or at the top. There's always just choice every single day. And I'm grateful to have that kind of control and power once you own that. It may not happen when you want it to, how you want it to, right? Journeys are all over the place, but I do believe that we have that ability to change our own lives and to create our own lives. Those vulnerable moments that I had to go through really created an unbelievable perseverance and resilience and strength within me. And now, again, trying to be here, and I am trying to showcase that vulnerability is strength. I think that's something women, we need to hear all the time. We are strong when we have that ability to kind of connect and share with others. And also, I also hope somebody can kind of see that and feel that they're heard, they're seen, their journey has some sort of overlap, and that you are in control.
Amazing. Yeah, there's certainly a theme of choice in all that you've done. So thank you so much for the courage to share your very personal story and the knowledge and experience that you could choose different paths. I appreciate that. Now, Nicole, over to you. As a woman in STEM, which is traditionally dominated by men, and from cultural roots that honor and respect hierarchy to being an introvert, one might look at that combination and think, oh boy, she's got the cards stacked against her. And yet, with all three factors at play, you step up to influence in the rooms that you're in. And does it freak you out? Is my honest question on that. And what are your thoughts that you have before you come into the room and take that brave step? What's that ember in you that caused you to do it anyway? Why take the risk?
Does it freak me out? So absolutely, that's my honest answer as well. So as an introvert, I often feel so overwhelmed. Like when I come into a conference, large meeting, even social events. Although I often found them very enjoyable, variable afterward, but before I came in, I was so nervous. So that's where, like, in my early years of my career, my first reaction to those events will be, can I just skip it? If I cannot skip it, I was like, please don't ask me to talk. But I'm also so grateful that I have like lots of managers who actually always push me out of my comfortable zone. Like they gave me these opportunities to present. And those opportunities actually are the moments for me to practice and grow. I realized that what actually scared me is just the uncertainty. So if I practice, if I prepare, I can anticipate various scenarios. That's where I feel like I am in control. I have more confidence. And also over time, it's like, I feel like the proposals, the idea that we're trying to influence others can be implemented by actions, like by initiative that actually help the business forward. So that's also something that motivates me on taking on a more active role in driving change.
Love it. Now, Michelle, among the many things you do so well, there's one thing that to me is a complete standout, and that is this. It's using silence as an influence instrument. In bustling rooms with bursting egos and everybody trying to get in, you so often start your statements with a pause, actually, of reflection and a measured kind of pace that is actually the point and makes space for the point. And what is going on inside of you that leads you to this place? And what are the stories you tell yourself in the process of influencing a room that we can learn from?
So I'll let you in on a little secret. Usually when there is a pointed pause, as it's clear that I have something to say and I'm gathering my thoughts, what I'm actually doing is gathering my confidence and forcing myself to make the point that I want to make. I was actually coaching someone once, and I said to them, if you say nothing, people assume you have nothing to say. And as soon as I said it out loud, I went, oh my gosh, those words actually apply to me. And so I had to really reflect on that. And it was a breakthrough in my own self-awareness that I had to, it was a part of my job to speak up. And so what I have learned to do is signal that I have something to say, take a breath, gather my confidence. And what I try to do is I actually try to start whenever I have something to say, I try to start with a context statement. And what that does for me is it grounds me. I have to remind myself that I live and breathe work that nobody else is thinking about. And so what I take for granted that everybody treats as common knowledge is not. And so I start with this context statement, and it grounds me and helps me find my confidence to make my point. And then I also find that it helps my listeners start from the same place that I'm starting from.
It's good advice. And I would say that the women in menopause, which I am in, you get this brain fog, and it's often takes some time for your mouth and your brain to recalibrate. And so silence or taking those pauses helps those two things catch up with one another as well. So it's really good advice. And you and I share a mindset around leadership as a service, and the adage that the quality of work should sort of speak for itself. And yet I remember you had an interesting learning that drew you out of your shell and encourage you to strut your stuff more than maybe you otherwise did. Where'd that come from, and how did you use this to influence others in a way that could help you maintain your authenticity as a leader?
I love the question, and actually, you touched on it in the setup and in your opening comments. Um, I grew up in a really conservative household. You were expected to keep your head down, do good work. The work would speak for itself. And what I have learned is that I'm actually taking away from my team, and that I have a responsibility to them to profile their awesomeness. And that's actually what I've used to get over myself and my discomfort. It's a little bit in the same vein as, when I say to people is, when you don't speak up, you are robbing others of the opportunity to learn from you, and that we all have an obligation to make each other better. And so I put them in the same category of that service mindset.
Love it. Now, Tina, and now for stuff we don't talk about, have you ever stepped up to the plate to influence something big and found it just all went to hell? And what was it? And what did you do to salvage the situation and yourself in the moment? And how'd you step back up to that daunting plate?
Yeah, so thinking about that, Lori, I think about 6 years ago, I took on a role. It was a bigger role, like a national kind of role. And it was just, I would just say, like, not great timing in terms of there was like a 3 level up change here in the US. So my boss's boss, and so on. And that was not a wonderful place to be, because even though I had been with, the organization, nobody up the chain kind of knew me, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's tough to be around the room with some amazing people sitting at the table, but they don't know you. And so it's kind of that journey of, for again, going back to like all my insecurities from being younger, of like wanting to be accepted, making sure, not wanting, wanting to be a part, wanting to add value, wanting to showcase my talents, the content and the experience that I had to add to the larger picture. And I'll be honest, it didn't happen right away. And it became a learning lesson, right? Failures, I always think, are an opportunity to learn and grow. And I had to pivot. I had to be different, like in terms of my own strategic way in the room, tactically make more connections one-on-one, so that folks kind of started to get to know who you were, what you were about, how you've experienced success over time from the past, but then find those small moments to make impact, lend credibility, add influence, like influence something important. And that took time, and it was experience and patience. I do not define myself as a patient individual, very eager. And so it was a really good learning lesson. And what I would say to anyone, again, listening, who can kind of relate to that new role and having to rebuild and redefine themselves, that it just making sure you're staying focused on your own your own execution, doing good work for yourself, and then that patience, right? Being who you are, building foundation relationships, because over time that leads to trust, and those small moments of impact ladder up, right, to building that trust and credibility, that have luckily for me have led to some wonderful journeys ever since that role.
Awesome. Now listen, through ElleExcel, we've explored the idea of what makes each of us remarkable. And it's a hallmark for self-confidence and a nod to what we do so well. And as hard as it is to say aloud, What makes you remarkable? I'm going to start with Nicole.
I am remarkable because I'm open-minded. I am willing to embrace changes and learn from others because I believe everyone has valuable insights to offer. So with that open-minded, the curiosity drives me to explore various ideas and also allowing me to approach challenges with innovative solutions.
Amazing. Michelle, what makes you remarkable?
I am remarkable because I have the ability to build high-performing teams that allows others to bring their authentic selves to work and do their best.
Love that. Tina, what makes you remarkable?
I'm remarkable because of my positive growth mindset and my willingness to, and passion for caring for others and being so resilient.
Awesome. And now to all of you, kind of in this order, when I was preparing for this session, some insightful themes and lessons emerged around boundaries and what we kind of shed in the process of becoming ourselves. So what did you each let go of? Who did you release in the path to yourself? And how did you navigate through that tough decision? Michelle?
I won't say I'm at end of job, but every day I try harder to let go of caring what others think.
That's tough. Tina, what'd you let go of?
Yeah, trying to be accepted and liked by everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's in those influence backdrop that we spoke about at the onset. That's tough for women, right? And so kudos to you for tackling that one, Nicole.
Both Michelle and Tina very well said, like letting go the expectations on us. And then, but I think I'm also would like to share the experience how I let go my expectations from my sister. So as I mentioned, I have a sister who's 7 years younger than me, but we're so different. Like I'm introvert, I focus on the future. She's an extrovert, and she just live in the moment. And when she was 16 years old, she actually decided to just quit high school. That shocked the whole family. Like it's like, oh, that's unconventional at all, especially in China. So from my perspective, I really worry about her safety because not just she quit high school, she also moved out of the family. She started working full time at a bubble tea store. And then, but on the other side, I want to be her ally because I'm her sister. I want to listen to her. I want to understand why she make these decisions. But meanwhile, like I also on my parents' side, I want her to go back to school. So that's how like I try to persuade her. But despite whatever I did, she still stood by her decision. Over time, I actually realized that maybe everyone just have their own choice. Like being healthy, being happy, it's just way more important than just a diploma or our conventional achievement. So that actually taught us being very close together. So now me and my sister, we are best friends. So I think it's like letting go that expectation on her and also make me realize that like I should have been more empathetic. Like I should actually know why she make this choice. But it's only later I found out that because she got bullied at school. So that's also why she made this decision. So that I actually think like this is really teaching me how like I should be more empathy here and also like understanding everyone's goals here. It's very important. Like when we're trying to do something at workplace, reaching to the same goal, it's like not imposing my expectation to others because this is everyone's business. Also, it's very important to understand everyone's goals here in the room and we collaborate together.
Yeah, it's tough to let go of the expectations we have of others, right? And you look at what causes us stress, it's often that. It's actually not them doing anything different than what they're perfectly designed to do. It's just that we think they should do something different. And so you kind of look at that and go, I don't know, is the definition of insanity for us to expect her to do something different? Or is it for us to just keep hoping that it's all gonna change? And it's a tricky one to navigate. So thank you for that. And hard because it's right in your family, it's your sister, right? And Tina, you shared with me the steep hill you climbed to get to where it is that you're at now and the unbelievable odds you faced to not only thrive, but survive neglect, abuse, lack of, fundamentals around safety. You also talked to me about how you lead and how you set out to influence others and said for you is all about kind of connecting to the human. Michelle said that too. What does that mean? And what does it look like every day when you're setting out to rally sales teams, get bankers aligned and help customers?
Yeah. So again, having gone through my journey, and experiencing a lot of judgment, not only from my journey, but being a woman, and a lot of doubt. For me, I make the choice every day that I don't want to judge folks too quickly. I actually saw a comment in the chat, so thank you for acknowledging that. There's that quote of treat people as you want to be treated, and I know there's a lot of folks that don't agree with it, but for me, it's true. It's how I try to live by, and for when I lead my team, I'm always seeking to understand them and connect with them individually, right? They're all different. They all have different journeys themselves. I want to know them. I want to understand them and what motivates them, what holds them back. And from that, I have found over my, kind of 24 plus year career that you're going to find a point of interest, probably commonality. There's connection, there's deeper respect. I get to better understand them as a full human talent. And then it actually allows us to have a deeper connection, greater, authentic, even sometimes accountable conversations, because there's more trust, there's more understanding. And I think there's just more, I hope that they do feel that care, and it allows for just a more balanced and meaningful relationship, both that can drive them forward in their professional careers.
Great. I love it. Now, Michelle, in your role influencing across multiple stakeholders, often with varying views, frankly, what do you do to understand the individuals and line up the outcomes before you enter the room? And what advice just generally would you offer around allyship?
Gosh, so one of the game changers for me has been intentionality in transparency. So I actually have a rule that I set for myself, and I love creating rules for myself because rules become habits, habits become behaviors. And so I created this rule for myself, which is, look at me with the filler as, that if I ask myself the question, should I give this person a heads up? The answer is always yes. If I ask the question, the answer is yes, right? And it's this real intentionality around transparency. Of course, there's things that we all know as well, having clear guiding principles, having clear measures of success. And then for me, one of the big things is around being clear on who I am operating in service of. So I operate in service of PMBB. I operate in service of our shareholders. I don't operate in service of a singular line of business or a singular channel. And I think being really upfront with that helps create that alignment, because everybody says, oh, right, yes, we all operate in service of our shareholders. And so it has really made a big difference for me.
Yeah, pulling it up a notch. And there's this fallacy, staying with you for a moment, that the higher you go in business, that we're either somehow unique or we're a snowflake, or that navigation of bias gets easier. And we think it happens out there somewhere, but really not here. Like, we've kind of got this lift. What bias have you faced? Is it easier at the top, and how do you navigate it when you face it?
Gosh, in spirit of this International Women's Day, I will uncomfortably in this group say, I believe that systemic sexism is real. I think it shows up differently. I'll give you a recent example for me. I walked into a room with a male direct report, and the person we were meeting with assumed that I reported to him. I have a laundry list of examples like that. And for me, what has been really empowering is to be able to label it, which has allowed me to process it. And that labeling and processing has also been what has prompted me to be far more intentional in being a part of other people's power packs, in creating more space for women. And so this concept of labeling has really made a big difference for me.
I like
And
it. Bear witness to.
Exactly. And yes, it's a bias in whatever form happens everywhere, unfortunately.
Thank you for the honesty. Tina, what bias have you faced? Is it easier at the top, and how do you navigate it?
I would say, well, through mine, it's I'm very energetic. I'm kind of trying to be like a little subdued, but like if you met me, I will fill a room with buzziness, and that's just who I am. But because I'm nice and bubbly and engaging, and I care, and I occasionally like to bake, that has somehow translated. And again, it's the kind of that cultural piece of that I'm weak. And now you all have heard kind of key tips of my childhood. Like that's like the furthest thing from who I am. So to make those assessments, I found power in it, actually, really anger first, real anger, and then used it again for myself to advocate for, again, earlier in the career, it was less common to embrace empathetic leadership and that emotional intelligence, right? Some of those softer skills. They have worked out really well for me later in my career. And I would say, is it harder now? I don't feel it's harder. I'm cognizant of it. How Michelle said, I navigate it more carefully. But I think that over time, for everyone in the audience, like being who you really are, being your authentic self, bringing your differences and your the strengths and the uniqueness that you have, and doing a really good job, right, and building that credibility and that brand, you are more embraced and accepted. At least that's my experience right now, and I'm very grateful. In fact, the reason I got to regional president was exactly because of what they told me I was weak for back in the day, and that was because I was needed in the moment to wrap arms around our Bank of the West colleagues, to have them understand BMO, embrace us, be engaged, right, be aligned, and then move forward in BMO. And so it's a really interesting tweak of the story that
Awesome.
was the
What a
reason I got
turnaround.
that.
You showed them. Listen, now this women's circle is all about bringing together a constellation of support, or what we call a power pack that keeps you going. And for some, this is people, others it's journaling or a task or exercise. What's in your power pack? Give us two quick things. Nicole.
It's my family, my husband and my son. My husband is my best friend who I can talk to every day. My son who always say, I love you, mommy. That really light me up every day. And then also that reminds me what matters the most. But last but not least, I also think exercise is very important.
Awesome. Thank you. Michelle, a couple quick things in your power pack.
I am super fortunate to have an incredibly strong support structure. Two people I will call out. One is my professional cheerleader and the other is my professional challenger. So the person who, when I need to pick me up, and the person who I need to call me on my BS.
Two things in your power pack, Tina.
Yeah, for me, I really leaned in on girl time and all the things we do together: happy hours, brunches, concerts, therapy, spa, and exercise. My biggest thing right now is weighted hikes up on a treadmill.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Now, listen, I've long had this idea around influence that I've held for women in leadership, and I know it's hard enough for any of us to step outside of our comfort zones and speak up. When we're spoken over twice as much as men, wrestling with our courage in any given moment, and all the examples you just shared. There's lots of stuff that runs against us. But what I'll tell you this, when I see a woman venturing out and trying to get in on a conversation, trying to be heard, trying to be courageous on a not so popular stance, I believe that it is my job to make room for her. My job. I believe it is the job of women to make room for other women, because if not us, then who? And nobody understands it better than us. I believe that as women, we create conditions for other women to excel, and that by not acting or remaining quiet or being a bystander, she goes it alone. That woman in that moment, and stands out to succeed, sets out to succeed less and less well. Because when a woman influences, and when she is at her best, when we are at her best, and she's heard in a room, it makes it much easier for others to follow her, and it gives her fuel. So there's so many women who set out to build up other women every single day with everyday actions and gestures like this. Each of you has spoken to me about the importance of sisterhood in various ways, from your home life to your work lives. But just really briefly, in a couple sentences or less, talk to me about why sisterhood is so important to you. Nicole.
I just believe that sisterhood can help women fully release their potential. Like I am so empowered in our previous session at ElleExcel, so that's where I got my power here, and I'm hoping that today what I said could inspire some of you to achieve where you want to be.
Get it. Michelle?
I love what you said there, Lori. What it made me think of is we are they. And what I mean by that is
Love that.
we often say, do they see it? And we are they. And so it's on all of us to help one another, and to normalize some of the things that we're talking about.
I love that. We are there. Love it, love it, love it. Now listen, forever, from the very beginning, wellness has been a staple of ElleExcel. And so what are two things you do to care for yourself, Tina?
I kind of some of the similar things. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks lately, which I'm loving, like Let Them, right? That's kind of a hot one for me with Mel. And just I like to travel, spend time with my family, and again, trying to get back into great habits around like exercise and wellness. I've started therapy, so I think those are all pieces that
Good for you.
are amazing.
Awesome. Thanks. Michelle, two things you do to care for yourself.
I have recently severely limited the notifications on my phone. It has allowed me to be a lot more present, and made a really big difference to my overall mental health. And then the other is, of course, getting outside and doing some walking. I try to do that every day.
Oh, that's good tips. Nicole?
I think it's very important to allocate me time because we are a daughter, we are employee, we are like a wife, we are mother. But at the end of the day, we are also ourselves. So I want to make sure like I allocate some me time for myself every single day. It could be just online shopping, it could be a massage, it could be some soap drama, but this is very important.
Thank you. And now for a fast wrap. For women to excel, what do you think we need to stop doing and start doing? What's one thing, Michelle?
Stop letting things get in our way. And I'll say continue as opposed to start. Continue thinking big.
Like it, Tina.
Stop believing we have to check 100% of the boxes for roles or to speak up. We're a lot more able. And then also start leaning into your authenticity, who you are, your uniqueness, your strengths, your personality. That's your superpower. So bring it to the table.
Yeah, here. Nicole, starts and stops.
Stop comparing ourselves to others because everyone is unique and everyone is different, and start celebrating our own wins, even though it's small, but focus on our own growth.
Oh, amazing. Well, now listen, influence is certainly this subtle skill from within, beginning with this sort of kernel of courage and that gains strength like a wave, like many of you have demonstrated. And irrespective of where it's come from, whatever struggles brought us to this space, at every turn we have a choice. I've heard that word a lot today. To influence on a better path, a better human path, to choose things for us, a female empowered path, a we path that cuts the road for other women who follow behind us and for those who are right next to us. And so I feel privileged to be surrounded every day by women like you, powerhouses of kindness, pillars of strength, determined trailblazers. You've taught me that influence doesn't need to feel like a stick, which is a really good lesson. You've taught us that it could be a whisper and a tide and silence, even. Thank you for that. And it doesn't get easier the higher you go, but the deliberate skill mastery helps, as does the sisterhood that surrounds all of us. So thank you for sharing your wisdom in every form today, being candid, being vulnerable. And as we wrap this panel, I want to introduce you a subtle gesture, and my hope is that it becomes this kindness currency between us as women. And so when you see a woman step up to the plate and influence, who speaks up in a meeting, who is mustering that courage that we all know is really hard to just let out, it helps to set a different tone to someone who's taking a chance. And when to that introvert who rarely speaks up, who takes a bold step, to signal to her or give her a boost, a small visual cue that maybe only she understands in that moment, that will give her fuel and give her a visual boost that says, I see you, I got you, and you're surrounded by support. And so that kernel of courage may be enough to fuel or pivot her in the moment, shift the tide within her that then shifts the outcome of the room. Because when you build up one woman, you build up all women, and it creates the conditions for all of us to excel. And so that currency is this. It's this. You see someone doing something, you could just subtly, you could be looking like you're just propping up your head in a meeting, intentionally direct that to that other woman on the screen, across the room, in a setting where you know she might be getting taken down, where you know she's mustering courage, and all those circumstances. I call it sister string. And it's subtle. You don't need to, it doesn't need to call attention. Not everyone around the room needs to know about it, but you want her to know. And I would encourage us within our own community to spread the string. It takes a village, and it takes a community, and there's nothing more powerful than the sisterhood. So thank you. And now for our wellness break.